All right, so it's Friday, and that means it's time for another installment of my AMA Ask Me Anything series, where you can submit anonymous questions or comments and possibly be featured on this video series. If you would like to do that, the link to the Q&A will be at the top of the description box. Let's jump into number one. Okay, so the first question is, do you ever feel defensive of a work if the fandom is toxic? For me, I defend my love of Pokemon cards, Minecraft, Rick and Morty, and deathcore music, even if they attract the, not gonna say that word this early in the video, and the most red pill 4chan neckbeards to ever exist. The content itself is great. I just don't like the fans of such great content having such hatred against women, black and brown people, and LGBTQ people. Not all Minecraft Pokemon fans are these things. Not all Rick and Morty fans are the human embodiments of /B/. Not all deathcore fans are alpha male incels, and that's okay. I'm a cis lesbian Latina woman who enjoys these fandoms, but at my own risk. I know how toxic some people get. I enjoy the live action Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. A lot of people on the internet have toxic opinions against them. I just express these opinions often, continue to enjoy them. Don't ever let toxic fandoms ruin what you love. Okay, I like that you went into depth on your comment here. It says, do you ever feel defensive of the work if a fandom is toxic? And I mean, that's kind of why I do what I do, right? Like, I do all of this because I genuinely love these things. And that's something that I just don't believe these other guys feel about the stuff they're talking about. It's just a vibe. So like when I go to conventions and I get a chance to be around people who love and enjoy all the things that I do, it's an energy. And you just know that that's the place you're supposed to be in. Those are the people you're supposed to be talking to. When I used to go to conventions a lot more, since COVID hasn't been as much as I'd like it to, but when I used to go to conventions a lot more, you would be in line to see actors from Star Trek. And you would chat with them. And everybody would talk about the things they loved and make fun of the things they didn't love. But at the end of the day, you still enjoyed going there and being a part of it. And what we see here online is a lot of people who either have these extremely toxic and detrimental parasocial relationships with the content creators, or a lot of people who don't know how to interact with other people on the internet when it comes to the things that they actually say they care about. So there's a lot of social awkwardness in all of this. And so, yeah, for me, it's one of those things where I do feel a little bit like I have to defend these things, but not in a gatekeepy way. I don't want to keep people out who want to come in and enjoy it and be a part of this community, but you have to sort of be able to discern what kind of community you're a part of and whether or not it's good for your health. And I think there's a lot of people who don't have that ability, and so they have just become comfortable in this content loop of negativity on the internet. But thank you so much for the comment and the question. All right, number two is, what's your opinion on political streamers like Hassan and Frogan, people on the radical left who want to have H3H3's kids taken away? I do understand the radical right is worse, but I believe that these people are just as bad as the people in power, saying that everyone should boycott things while they don't. I'm a real fan of the show and your work, and your answer really won't change that. Well, I appreciate you throwing that there in the end. Look, I'm going to be very honest. I don't really watch just 100% political streamers. It's not really the kind of content that I consume online. I see clips. Like, I've seen clips of both Hassan and Frogan and, you know, H3H3 Productions, all of that. I've seen clips of their stuff, but it's just not my thing. When I say I love the things I talk about, and it is important to me, I mean that. So when I'm on here talking about superhero stuff or sci-fi stuff or video games or queer media and things like that, I love these things. I engage with these things. I don't spend a lot of my time online engaging with things that I don't like as a standard. Like, it's not something that I do regularly. Like, when it comes to the Chud content, I have a specific amount of time during the day where I go through and I look at stuff and I decide what I'm going to talk about for the day. And that sort of keeps me sane in all of this. But in general, I'm not big on political streamers, whether it be extreme right, extreme left, you want to call it radical, center of the road stuff. I just don't really get involved with that. So giving my opinion on this, I know very surface level stuff about this. But I wanted to answer your question specifically because you talk about like saying that everyone should boycott things while they don't. Like, I guess saying there's some sort of a double standard. And I think for me, the way I look at it is I see one side of this equation being a group that wants to make things better for everybody, and one side that wants to take things away from people. They want to make things worse for people. And as someone that votes socially, somebody that my politics align with how things are socially, because I think all the bigger things don't matter if you can't be happy in your day-to-day life. Being happy in your day-to-day life is something that you have to be like very forward with. You have to think about that. So for me, I think about that. I'm a social voter. So when people talk about like the deficit the country's in and all these big problems, there's such huge issues that will not get resolved in our lifetime. We're never going to see that. I don't think our kids would even see that. It's just not a practicality. However, somebody who needs assistance because they can't feed themselves for whatever reason, somebody that is a queer person that doesn't have the same rights and liberties as somebody else. I mean, these are things that affect people right now, day to day. Those are the things that matter to me. So there might be a little bit of bias in the way people feel about things, and sometimes there might even be a double standard to some degree. But you cannot tolerate intolerance. And for me, I have to remember that. Like the idea of the tolerant left, I mean, that is something that is used against the left or liberals or progressives as like a reason to hold back any sort of like help or assistance or progressive ideals. So in that regard, I'm always going to lean on that side, even if sometimes it feels like it's somewhat of a double standard. And I can't think of any specific time where that's happened for me. Maybe you know something like that. I wouldn't know. But as far as like getting someone's kids taken away, I don't know. I feel like I would have to know explicitly if there was something happening for me to step in and take a hard stance on that. Because I do think it does happen, and at times people treat their children badly, and they do need help. They need assistance on that. But I don't know if this is one of those times. Either way, I just wanted to sort of talk about the idea of political streamers and where I stand on that anyway. Thank you for your question. All right, it's time to do some chud chatting here with question number 3, or comment number 3. Views are really falling off. It wasn't long ago they were getting consistent 200K plus and the occasional 300K. Damn, that's a recent comment in their last FNT stream, which is true. 5 days later, it would say 230K. Now it only says 169K. I mean, is Gary that dumb? 2 to 4 years ago, it was big during COVID when people had no entertainment, and that gravy train is done now. I think it's also, we're seeing the world sort of expand and open back up again. People are becoming more social. A lot of the kids that were graduating during COVID are finally feeling comfortable being social and going out and working in the club atmosphere, in the entertainment world. I can tell you, I am seeing more people coming back out and being social again. It's just something that's happening slowly over time. So sitting at home on a Friday night, being mad about a Marvel movie or a Disney princess for adults is just a really sad thing to do. It's really sad. And people should get out. They should do more things. And if you were having a Friday night stream where you were having fun and being interactive and really providing something of substance to the people that are watching, I could see people wanting to come back to that. But the constant negativity and hate wears on everybody, including the people that supported this years ago. So it doesn't shock me to find out that the views are falling off for their live streams. It doesn't shock me at all. Now, does that mean they're going under tomorrow? No, but we've already seen people like Shad Adversity and Quartering talk about the fact that the numbers are going down. They know it. It's affecting their income. So yeah, I do believe that the end is near for the gravy train. You're right about that. I think that is coming to an end. But I don't think it'll go away completely. What's going to happen is we're going to see if these channels can adapt to this. Can they adapt or die? That is the question they're going to have to ask themselves. And we're going to see if they live up to that potential. I think some of them probably will make changes to try and fix it. But you can't change the audience. The audience is negative. So whatever changes they make are going to have to be changes to structure and not content. Because I don't think they can change their content. I don't think they can go from like a negative forward content to being positive about stuff all the time. I think that's a death sentence for the channel. So they're gonna have to change structure. And what that looks like for them, I don't know. Thank you for your question. All right, so for question number 4, this is a very personal question. I don't mind answering it and talking about this. I think it's really important sometimes to talk about trauma in your life and things that have happened to you. And that's what I did this series for, so I could dive into anything. Ask me anything. So that's what you're doing. The question is, you've talked about being married. I was just wondering, currently, are you single, dating, or married? I am engaged to be married, essentially almost married by every account. We just haven't been able to make it happen yet. There's a little bit of hurdles there that we have to deal with, but otherwise we're planning on being married. Someone I've been with for about 6 years now. But I was married. I was married for 5 years from 2013 to 2018. But the person I was married to, I was with for 20 years. So we were together for 20 years, married for 5 years. And he passed away in 2018 from pancreatic cancer, complications from pancreatic cancer. There was other health issues that were, affected by the pancreatic cancer. And I was going to make a video talking about that. It's actually quite a big pivotal part of my life when you lose a spouse, someone that you were with for so long. And it did sort of change me a little bit in 2018 when that happened. So maybe I'll do a video about that at some point. But yeah, lost him in 2018. And now I've been with my current partner since the end of 2019-ish, somewhere around there, officially. So was married for 20 years, lost my partner at the beginning of 2018, spent a year centering myself, getting my life back together, met someone. We were sort of on and off through the beginning of 2019. And then by the end of 2019, it was official. So we're coming up on 6 years. So there you have it. Also very, very happy. The person I'm with is an amazing man. Anybody that knows me personally knows how great our relationship is. And yeah, maybe he'll be on some content with me one day. We've talked about it a little bit. Maybe. Anyway, thank you for the comment. All right, so this is the last one, and it's kind of a long one, but we're going to go through this. It says, "Hi, Eric. Sorry for the upcoming spiel, but I think the work you're doing is amazing and important in this toxic culture war, as well as helping us former chudders to unchudding ourselves." Well, I appreciate you admitting that, and I'm glad that I can be here for you guys in any way at all. All right, you give me too much credit, but I do appreciate it. I just want to thank you. Your content really opened my eyes compared to much of the other channels which so frequently branch into chud territory. Your approach has been something of a breath of fresh air. That which originally began for me as a fandom grounded on passion for storytelling and the integrity of comic lore has unfortunately devolved into a minefield of reactionary opinionisms, and enabling. I've been rewiring my brain and unlearning much of that, but I find myself still conflicted, especially when criticisms of more recent work like Star Wars sequels initially seemed unplanned. I joined this community originally because I was frustrated at the dismissal of Star Wars EU and what I perceived as a lack of planning. At the time, all the complaints from the creators were understandable now, where I was blinded by wanting to agree. However, I'm second guessing the filter which led them to be created, which brings me to my question. How do you word your personal opinion of the current state of entertainment, specifically for someone who critiques from a stance that avoids the usual isms? I understand you're not a fan of Secret Invasion so much, and that's something that you actually share with some of the other reviewers on your opinions actually stands on somewhat quite different, and somewhere I'm trying to get to myself as well. And what guided your opinion? Are there any creators or channels you recommend to someone like me who's actively trying to purge their feed and find better, more thoughtful content and fan communities? Even Star Wars Theory himself seems to be leaning towards grift, whereas I used to think that Mauler and EFAP set were doing more story work. It now seems like they're consistently bringing up the likes of Racing Ryan and dipping into the same old rhetoric. Thanks again for trying. It's helping me shake off a lot of unhealthy tendencies I didn't even know I built up. Okay, so it's a lot to unpack, but I really wanted to comment on this because I don't get a lot of positive responses, to be honest. I had to weed through this. There's a lot that's really hard to, because I can't read all of them. Most of them are not even appropriate for YouTube. So I'm glad to get one like this that feels like it's positive, and I wanted to end the video on this comment. So I appreciate all of your comments about me. So what I do now is when I'm watching media, there's two ways that I can do it. I can watch it in a way that allows me to tap into what I think the grifters and chuds are going to talk about, what they're going to go after, the things they're going to see. And that is the not so enjoyable way to watch stuff. I would recommend probably not doing that. And the only time I will do that is if it's something I'm watching specifically to find out what I think they would go after, like a movie or a TV show that wouldn't normally be on my radar. But that's not something I would suggest. When I go into something wanting it to be the best it can be. And I don't mean overhyping my expectations, like thinking that something is going to be much better than it actually is. I mean, going in just hoping that I'm going to be entertained by that thing and remembering that these are stories, these are pieces of art that people worked really hard on putting together. That's why it bums me out sometimes to say, I didn't like Secret Invasion or another TV show or movie that I might have gone into with my best foot forward, where I go, that just wasn't it for me. Because a lot of it is a combination of my own personal wants and needs and desires for what these things are, and projecting onto that and going, this is what I want it to be. And it just isn't that thing. And sometimes that aligns with what other people think, and sometimes it doesn't. But one of the things I have to remind myself is that sometimes media isn't meant for me. What I mean by that is I am not the target audience for that media, and I'm a guest into that media, and I should respect it as a guest into that media. And if I don't understand something, maybe it's because it wasn't designed for me. So that's how I look at things. And a good example of that would be something like Ms. Marvel. So Ms. Marvel is a show that was made for Marvel fans, but it was also a cultural show that was intended to show what life is like for those characters existing in that world, introducing us to things about this world and these characters that not only reflect the Marvel universe, but reflect what it's like to see that community existing in that world and living their lives. There's a lot of things that I learned watching Ms. Marvel that I didn't know. And that happens with other things. Sometimes I'm watching movies and TV shows where I'm like, I didn't know that. That's not something I knew about that community or that person or what the struggles they might have or things like that. Those are things that you learn. And I'm very thankful for that. Those are things that I appreciate because I grew up in an era where TV not only was supposed to be entertaining, but they also wanted to have some sort of like message behind it in a positive way. Not necessarily shoving it in your face, but making you really think about the things you do in your life. So that's how I view a lot of the media I watch is I go in and I just want it to be the best thing it can possibly be. And if I find something that I don't like for whatever reason, I try to sort of like rationalize what that reason is. And with Secret Invasion, there's a lot of reasons that I don't like that. None of them have to do with diversity. None of them have to do with a black character, a gay character, a trans character, virtue signaling, intersectional feminism. Like all of these things just don't matter if the movie or TV show is good and you're having fun watching it. And I think the problem is what the Chud channels are doing, and you say as a former, a former Chudder, I think is what you said, as someone that's been there, I would assume that you probably went into stuff carrying some of that baggage on your back, like a big backpack. You walk into a movie or a TV show, and you're thinking like, how many of these things are going to happen, and how is it going to ruin my enjoyment, my experience enjoying this media? You have to throw all of that out. Just get it all out of your head. Go into something wanting the best for it. Go into it expecting to see things, to hear things, to experience things that may not be something that you relate to. That's really what it is. And they would have you believe that today's media is different than it was when we were growing up in that way. And it's not. It's just as you get older, things are not focused towards you. I am not the target demographic of most popular things. That's why a lot of things that we love were things that happened in our childhood, our teen years into our early 20s. Because that was when it was important for us. That was when life was really happening for us. And I think a lot of these guys are living through midlife crises too. I think that's another issue, is they realize the world is moving on without them and not everything has to revolve around them. And they're trying very hard to hold on to that. And you don't have to. You can simply enjoy what's coming out. And if you're not, that's fine. You can go back and watch all the stuff that we loved back in the day. Every once in a while, I'll throw in like an old movie or TV show that I love. Coming to America is one of my favorite movies. I watch it all the time. I throw it in every once in a while. Back to the Future. Aliens, like there's Goonies, there's things that I love from back in the day that I still throw in and watch from time to time. The original Karate Kid movie. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with the current ones existing. If you're not enjoying them, just don't watch them. Move on without it. I think we'd all be better off if we just started to just accept that sometimes things aren't made for us. They're not for us. Even if it's in a fandom we love, they're just not for us. I love Burger King, but I don't love everything on the menu. Maybe those items aren't for me. That's okay. They can still exist. People can still enjoy them. I don't have to order them, but I don't have to tell them that they can't have them. I don't have to tell Burger King they have to stop making them. And I think that's something we should all just really focus on. Anyway, I kind of blabbered on a little bit for that, but I do appreciate your comment and question. Again, if anybody is watching this and you would like to submit an anonymous comment or question that I can read on YouTube, I want to reiterate this. It has to be suitable for YouTube. I have to be able to read it on YouTube. So if you're going to use words and things that I can't read, then I can't. Even if you're on here calling me names, I can't read it on YouTube. It's never going to be on here. Not because I'm censoring what you're saying about me. It's because you're saying things that I can't show on YouTube. So if you'd like to participate in this, keep it cute, okay? Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.